Welcome into the Devil's Digest Spring Wrap-Up Show after 15 practices and a fan fest tonight. Spring ball is over for ASU. As always, I'm Justin Lestertosa. That's publisher Hode Urbino. And Hode, obviously the main question for this ASU team coming into this spring, how is the running game going to replicate that production without Cam Skattebo, who still waits to hear his name called in the NFL draft? Less questions in the passing game because you have Sam Levitt returning and Jordan Tyson. But what did you make out of this offense for spring ball?
Well, let's put it this way, Justin. I mean, I think that when you have an offensive coordinator like Marcus Aurora, somebody who is a veteran offensive coordinator, he probably has been faced with situations like this in his long career. And he basically said that there's not going to be reinventing the wheel. He is really going to adjust the scheme to the players that he does have on hand. Replacing a production of a Cam Skattebo is definitely going to be tough. When you look at the running game, I know the running back by committee is something that every ASU running back coach for the last 5-6 years have said they're going to do, but I think now they're definitely forced to do it because I don't think spring practice produced that clear-cut running back one like ASU has been very fortunate to have in the last handful or so years. And that's not a bad thing. But I think when you look at maybe a three-prong running back in terms of Kyson Brown, Kanya Udu, the Army transfer, and Raleek Brown. I think those are the three primary ball carriers that you're going to see. Each of them brings a different skill set to the table. But, I think that this is just an ASU team that is not going to suddenly only run the ball 50% of the time, let alone less than that. And last year, by the way, it was 60-40 in terms of the run. But, maybe it's an offense where last year they weren't really tempted to throw on first down because they have Cam Skattebo. And maybe now this year when you do throw on first down, it's not so much them being extra creative or just realizing what they have in terms of the talent of the running game. But I think the running game is one aspect that maybe had somewhat of a slow start. But as spring practice progressed, I think it did play better and better, and there definitely is some promise over there for that aspect. Again, don't expect the numbers from last year to be duplicated, but I don't think you're going to see a massive drop-off either. You talk about the passing game, and yes, the best news is to have, in my opinion, easily a top 5 quarterback wide receiver combination returning in college football in Sam Levitt at quarterback, Jordan Tyson wide receiver. Jordan Tyson was actually injured for a good portion of spring practice, so we didn't get to see maybe the full gamut of his skills, but in this somewhat small sample size, he's definitely the Jordan Tyson of old, and is definitely going to be quite the weapon for the Sun Devils. I think the Sun Devils, if I'm not mistaken, added actually 7 new wide receivers between transfers and true freshmen. And I think that we saw some really good talent emerging over there. Jalen Moss, the transfer from Fresno State, actually scored a touchdown 2 years ago in the field behind us. If you can't beat him, join him, I guess. He's somebody that really got a lot of praise from offensive coordinator Marcus Aurora. I think that Malik McLean, who had a very short appearances in the post game in 2024, but really made the most out of it. He's somebody that I could see starting along with Moss and Jordan Tyson. But then you have some really intriguing transfers. Jaron Hamilton from Alabama out of all the transfers, maybe stood out the most. A very clear-cut weapon downfield for the Sun Devils. Noble Johnson from Clemson, a big-bodied wide receiver who I think really has his own unique skills that it can bring to the table. So I think there's definitely some very intriguing weapons over there for Arizona State in the passing game. And I think that when you talk about an improved passing game, I think you really have to talk about the improved tight end room. I mean, you have Shimon Mateer, easily one of the best returning tight ends in the Big 12. And you have a very solid transfer for Kentucky, Kamari Anderson, somebody really impressed me quite a bit. And, there's a lot of true freshmen that come over here with a lot of fanfare, 4-star prospects, and you kind of wonder, okay, how does that translate to the field? Well, A.J. Ia, the true freshman, from Southern California has definitely lived up to his reputation as being one of the best tight ends in the West Coast. And I think that he's really going to be, quite the weapon. And the beauty is that they really don't have to really rely on him that much. You can really let him develop at his own pace. But that's a guy that flashed a lot in spring practice. So I think there's definitely a lot to be excited about. I would say just in general that Sam Levitt did start spring practice on somewhat of a slow note, but I think got better as time went on. One quarterback that actually impressed me quite a bit, and no, there's no quarterback controversy, so don't misconstrue what I'm about to say, but I really feel that Jeff Sims had an outstanding spring practice session. I feel that overall, if you're talking about consistency, it was probably even a little more consistent than Sam Levitt. Unless something unexpected happens here in the next few hours that remain in the transfer portal, Jeff Sims is going to be here in 2025, and I think in terms of a solid backup quarterback, to have somebody like that on your team is definitely a great weapon. So overall, I think the offense, a slow start, but definitely did finish on a strong note. We definitely see some positive sides, both in the running game and the passing game. Some proven talent, some new faces really stepping up. I think this offense is going to be fine. I really would like to see, and I'm sure the coaches would also see that next step taken in fall camp to maybe get a better grasp of how good this offense is going to be. So definitely some talent lost, but a lot of talent returning back and a lot of talent acquired on this side of the ball.
Yeah, a lot of pieces to play around with if you're Kenny Dillingham and Marcus Arroyo. The same can be said about Brian Ward's defensive group as well. Most of the defensive line and secondary are still intact from last season. The only major hole to fill is that left by Shamari Simmons at nickelback. So what have you seen out of the defense kind of ramping it up and coming back into the spring?
Yeah, I think that this defense, I'm not going to say is going to rise or fall on the nickelback play, but when you see Shamari Simmons being so dominant in that role for the Sun Devils last year, you're definitely curious to see whether it's Montana Warren, whether it's Kendrick Breedlove, the transfer from Purdue, which of them can really step up and be the starter and play at a high level. And again, just like with Cam Skidmore on offense, you maybe know ahead of time you're not going to be able to replicate that production, but maybe just minimize the drop-off. That's something that may be the difference in terms of the defense playing at a higher level than last year, maybe playing at the same level. But yeah, I think that the defensive line is absolutely stacked. All four defensive ends are actually seniors. And I know improved pass rush is something that defensive coordinator Brian Ward does want to see improve. I think we definitely see some signs in the right direction, but I think Brian Ward feels that this aspect is still TBD. It's almost kind of semi-amazing that ASU's pass rush wasn't really off the charts good last year, and still this defense was quite dominating in a year that obviously won the Big 12 championship and did play in the college football playoffs. So it's almost a scary thought in a good way if this pass rush can really actually improve over last year with all other elements of the defense being just as good or maybe showing slightly improvement. This defense really can be one for the ages. I really like to see what I see a linebacker. Excellent two deep with Keyshawn Elliott and Jordan Crook, two of the standouts from defense from last year. And backing them up, we have Cyrus Fiaseo and Martell Hughes, who did not redshirt as a freshman, somebody who has a huge ceiling in terms of talent. So they're really set over there. At cornerback, you have two established stars in Javon Robinson and Keith Abney, but really good players to back him up, and Rodney Bimage and Alan Green. Plas Johnson did start out spring on a pretty strong note. Unfortunately, tore his ACL, and he's going to be gone for the year. But I really feel that you do have so much talent coming back. And again, the pieces that they're able to acquire through the transfer portal are plugging in exactly where the team needs them. So again, if pass rush can improve and the drop-off in nickelback is going to be smaller than people think it's going to be, this is going to be a one defense that's going to make life miserable for a lot of opponents in 2025.
Yeah, Hode, and a lot of established names on both sides of the ball for ASU coming into the spring. But Kenny Dillingham and his staff preach the entire time that they want to see some of the younger guys step up when the lights are brightest here at the stadium and also in practice as well. You mentioned AJE, of course, but were there any other names that you were kind of surprised by this spring?
Yeah, I would say that Demarius Man Robinson Robinson, the true freshman running back, I think really made a name for himself in the spring. I'm somebody that was really high on Jason Brown, the freshman who redshirted last year, and I think that Robinson maybe stole some of his shine during spring. Now, this can obviously just be turned upside down come fall camp, but Robinson, again, for a true freshman that really don't know what to expect. I think one of the coaches joked the other day, he shouldn't be practicing right now, he should be preparing for his senior prom. Robinson is somebody that definitely did turn some heads. Also, somebody that can contribute in the return game possibly as well. So that's one newcomer that did impress me. If you're looking at the offensive line, Makai Stewart at guard, I think is somebody who I'm not saying came under the radar, but you always talk about the offensive line as being one position where it's so hard for true freshmen, even redshirt freshmen, to really crack the two deep. I think Makai Stewart is somebody that definitely is going to be able to do that. Those are some of the younger players that really impressed me on offense. On defense, I think Rodney Bimage, who I mentioned earlier, is somebody who has an absolute breakout spring. He definitely is giving a lot of competition to the starters at cornerback. I think the coaches have to be very, very pleased with what they saw from him. Overall, I think defense maybe just a little more established and a little harder for younger players to stand out that much more compared to offense. Kenny Dillingham said he wanted to see younger players step up. I think all those names that I mentioned, also mentioned probably Chris Johnson at safety, had a big hit over here in the team segment earlier tonight. I think that's another player that really stood out. So I think just the balance between the veteran players, the returning players, and the younger players that didn't get a whole lot of run last year, but really were able to stand out in the spring. I think ASU really does have that good balance. And again, if the coaching staff are looking for some young players to step up to the plate, I think they have a handful or so that were able to do so.
Yeah, Hode, everyone by now knows the story of last year. Picked last and then finished first for ASU. That goes to show the competitive nature in the Big 12. But now ASU's the hunted, coming in as the Big 12 champions after making the college football playoff. Do you think ASU has a shot to potentially repeat with what you saw in the spring?
Yeah, I really think the chances over there. We know they're not going to get picked last, in the media preseason poll. So not exactly breaking news, but something you can definitely take to the bank over there. The question is, how does the media, both the Big 12 media and maybe the national media too, how do they view the loss of Cam Scadaboo, maybe to a lesser extent Shamari Simmons? Do they feel that those two players not being there being adverse difference makers for Arizona State, or do they feel that Arizona State does have the capability of actually replenishing those pieces quite well? In the field behind us, there's going to be 7 home games this year. We know ASU was undefeated at 6-0 at Mountain America Stadium. I'm not saying it's easy to repeat that, but that's something that ASU proved that they can do. Going back to my earlier point, I really think the defense, there should not be any worries at all. It's really going to be a stacked group. I think it could get even more creative, utilize the better depth that they have this year. So they're not really all eyes are going to be on the offense. All eyes are going to be on the running game. What does life after Cam Scadaboo look like? Does the running back by committee really going to work? I mean, I think there's definitely reason to be optimistic. Maybe some will say cautiously optimistic, but still optimistic nonetheless that this is a running back running game that is still going to perform at a pretty high level. It may not duplicate the numbers of Scadaboo from last year. And I think the passing game, you still have one of the best returning quarterbacks, not only in the Big 12, but in the entire nation. You have one of the best returning wide receivers, not only in the Big 12, but in the entire nation, but with so many more weapons around them, not only in the wide receiver room, but also in the tight end room. I think that is something that can really help the offense quite a bit, replicate those numbers. And now the question is, okay, do we see like maybe a different distribution of run and pass compared to what we saw in 2024? That remains to be seen, but I just know these coaches are not going to force the issue. They know that Cam Scadaboo is not here anymore, and they're really going to tailor the offense, that way. One thing I should mention, and I know a sore subject to bring up, even in a great 2024 season, was special teams, specifically the kicking game. Thank you, Jesus. Jesus Gomez has been an absolute asset in spring practice. You're not holding your breath when you see field goal attempts take place from 50 yards and beyond. So I think that the fact that he's able to perform at such a high level in the spring, and there's no reason to think as he gets more comfortable come fall camp that he can't even perform at a higher level. I think that ASU has really buttoned up that issue. Also the return game, one player I probably should have mentioned earlier, Raleek Brown. A healthy Raleek Brown in the return game, probably more kick return than punt return, is just an absolute asset for ASU. Something, again, they didn't have last year. Didn't really hurt them all that much when you win 11 games, but nonetheless, I think that's one aspect that can help quite a bit is improve running game with Raleek Brown, with Jalen Moss, who I did mention earlier. So when you talk about winning the margins, I think that the special teams, which was quite the adventure last year, is going to be boring in every good way for the Sun Devils. And maybe that's the difference where you can compensate for some of those personnel losses and do repeat as Big 12 champions. Head coach Kenny Dillingham always reminds us there's only one team in the whole long career, or the long history, I should say, of the Big 12 that repeated as champions, and that's a team that's no longer even there in the conference in Oklahoma. So if for ASU to really achieve that, it wouldn't be just a great feat for the program, but really would be almost an unheard feat for the Big 12 conference. I really do think that the tools are there. We can see we'll see what happens over the next few days in terms of the transfer portal additions. They're not going to be maybe that many for Arizona State. Some offensive line help, some wide receiver help, maybe defensive line. But that's something that I think only can help ASU. So I think that there's a lot of excitement in Tempe around the valley, and really for good reason. Not so much just not letting go from that magical 2024 season, but actually seeing what's on hand in 2025. And I really do feel there are a lot of tools in place when we talk about personnel that can help ASU win double digits again and repeat as Big 12 champions. Is it going to be harder because they're the hunted? This time around, sure, it will be, but I do feel that being optimistic about ASU's prospects in 2025 is not a pipe dream.
Well, thank you, Hod, for all your insight. About 4.5 months till ASU kicks off its season here at Meta in America Stadium. But in the meantime, there's set to be a lot of news on the recruiting trail in the coming weeks. So to stay tuned on all the coverage, go to DevilsDigest.com. Follow Devils Digest on Twitter at Devils Digest. I'm Justin Lassertosa. That's publisher Hod Rubino. We'll talk to you guys soon.